Now, from the Super Doppler 10 Weather Center, this is a severe weather alert.
Just got a tornado warning issued for northern Virginia Beach. This storm has been moving to the north very quickly at around 55 miles an hour. And there is some rotation with this. This is right around, the rotation that I'm seeing is right around areas near Mount Trashmore in Virginia Beach. Let's take a look at this storm. Once again, we have this area of rotation that I'm seeing right in this area here. So we're looking south of Kempsville. We're looking towards Pecan Gardens, and we're looking towards Mount Trashmore with that area that has some rotation with it. It's very broad here, but it's a quick moving storm that's moving to the north. That's radar indicated to possibly have a tornado with it as it is moving to the north and east. If you are in this area with the warning for northern Virginia Beach, and I'll give you a time to arrival on this, this is just going to be very quickly. So anywhere around Birchwood Gardens into Great Neck, into areas around Fort Story, the next 10 minutes. Seek shelter right now in the lowest level of your home in a room without windows. So if you're watching this from your bedroom TV, your bed is upstairs, you got to get into a room without windows. If your bed is downstairs, go into the bathroom. Turn the volume up on the TV so you can hear me from the direction that, or the location that you go to, as this is a fast moving storm. This is moving again at 55 miles an hour. If you're on a freeway moving at 55, 60 miles an hour, you can clear that distance in no time. Think of it like that type of situation. For other areas in Virginia Beach, off to the west, you are not seeing that rotation, so you're looking a lot better. It's really hyper-focused in this area right here. Let's zoom in and see where we might see the storm that's moving across northern Virginia Beach, where I believe that circulation is located right now. And I'm going to also fade this out just a bit so we can see a little bit more of the streets on the screen here. So let me just fade out the radar just temporarily so we can see some things that we're looking at here. So here we go. Here's Great Neck, excuse me, right here. Here's Great Neck Road. So this is where we're seeing that rotation that's moving to the north with this strong thunderstorm, also towards the Lynn Haven Inlet. This storm, again, 55 miles an hour. It's a tornado-warned storm. I want to see if we can pull up the camera here. This is Virginia Beach Town Center right now, but we're looking towards the Best Buy, Virginia Beach Boulevard. I can't adjust this right now. I don't have another computer where I'm at to see what's going on. It's dark though. Things are covered in rain. It's probably rain wrapped if there is a tornado. Hopefully there is not. But this is a very difficult storm to see anything. Again, tornado warning for the northern areas of the city of Virginia Beach until 1:15 in the morning. We're looking at this part of the storm right here. However, we also have to keep a close eye on what's going on farther to the south with this storm if there's any signs of rotation. Mainly this area here, really over the Lynn Haven Inlet, is where I'm seeing a lot of that strength of the storm. But occasionally, and I've seen this before, as the storms quickly move to the north, sometimes there's new areas that tend to develop or get a little bit stronger. So that's one thing that I'll keep a close eye on. You can kind of see how there's little waves and wiggles with this storm. As that moves to the north, that's where we get that threat for that tornado warning and for that spin that may be in the thunderstorm. Here's a look at the loop of the radar for just the last few moments. You can see how it looked really strong not too long ago. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually scrub through this with time. You can see right around there, you see how there's this kind of curvature and there's this bend within the storm. We have that area of rotation, or that strongest part of the storm, that's moving right towards the coast. But that was at 12:42. That was 10 minutes ago. Now, as we go into time, we're going to watch that area closely. That area of interest is closer to the north, closer to Fort Story right now, as that rotation has been lifting to the north. You can see right close to the coastline, I believe, is where we're seeing most of that. It looks very broad in terms of its circulation right now. I want to see if there's any signs of storm debris with this. And as we go back in time, not seeing anything that's really popping up there that's looking too clear. But again, this is a storm that has a lot of rain with it. This is a storm that has a lot of wind with it. And this area of circulation is lifting to the north with this whole thunderstorm that is traveling at about 55 miles an hour. So seek shelter immediately in a room without windows if you're in the northern spots. I would say north of 264 in the city of Virginia Beach, as we have this tornado warning that goes for another 20 minutes, but the threat is right now. It's not just going to be something that we'll see move in here in the next next 10 minutes, it's going to be something that's moving in right now. One spot that I'm watching that also is looking kind of interesting too, and now this is over the water. This appears to be a spot where there's some circulation too. So that's good. If it's over the bay now at this point, here's the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel right here. So possibly moving over the bay. I'm just going to rewind this. Again, this is a storm that's moving at 55 miles an hour. It's a lot faster than normal. Normally we see these storms moving at around 30 miles an hour, so it's moving twice as fast. And that does look likely that that is the area of strongest circulation, probably moving over the water and over the bay and into the ocean right now. Farther south with the storm system, we have general wind with it, maybe some broad circulation in Chesapeake and into Virginia Beach. I'm not too concerned by that. I really believe, just looking at the signature that I'm seeing on the screen here, it's that area right into here as we go back and forth with the radar from areas into Great Neck, right here, and then moving to the north, and that's just the last few minutes as that moves now mainly over the water. We still have other areas of heavy rain that are coming down across the south side. It's not just that, it extends still into Chesapeake. There have been those ingredients for rotating storms. Into the peninsula, you're clear if you are awake. Into Portsmouth, you're looking just fine right now as there are not any areas of rain headed your direction. Here's a zoomed out version of this. You can see how this is lifting to the north. Let's take a look at the eastern shore. Let's see what's going on into your area, and then we'll go right back into Virginia Beach. That area of circulation appears to be, you can kind of see it even on the radar, how there's a big bulb of higher rainfall right here, and then it kind of spins in on the back side of it. That's probably where we have the strongest part of the storm moving over the bay right now. That storm lifting to the north could move into around areas near Kiptopeke at 1 o'clock in the morning, 107, which isn't too long from now. Again, 55 miles an hour, and that's just about as fast as you drive across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel when the weather's clear. So we're seeing a very strong storm system moving to the north and to the northeast that could have a tornado with it. No warnings for the eastern shore right now. Where we have that warning again, and let me clear that out, I drew that by accident. Where we have the warning right now is into the city of Virginia Beach. That warning goes until 1:15 in the morning. However, it looks like the strongest part of that circulation may have started to move over the Chesapeake Bay now. So the threat level starting to decrease a bit. Again, when we have a tornado warning, think of the basic safety. You want to go into that interior room, that room without windows. That's a safe spot to be, the lowest level of your home too. If you live in an apartment complex that's high up, again, don't worry about getting to the low level at that point. Just get to that center room, that room without windows, those taller buildings. While they can have some damage at the top of the buildings from strong storms, they also are built well to the point where you can get into that safe room in the interior part of the building. Here's a look at the radar once again right now. Are there any other areas of interest where there is some type of circulation or there's some rotation? I'm not seeing anything that's looking too impressive on radar, but remember how quickly this developed. We're rewinding it now. That's where we were at 12:38. You can see that circulation moving to the north, and that time right there is at 12:49. So that's where we were not too long ago. Here we are at 12:56, and we're seeing that storm lifting to the north. Not seeing as much circulation with this, but we have had a lot of wind with it. So I believe the highest threat for the tornado has now lifted over the water. What we have left is a lot of wind still moving across the Hampton Roads cities and into the south side especially. There is some additional rain coming in around the south side. Let me tour down to the south and to the Outer Banks around Corolla. There's some rain. We also have some rainfall for the eastern shore, or excuse me, for the Outer Banks right now. And towards Cape Hatteras, that's not looking severe right now. That's just looking like rainfall. That's moving into your area. For northeast North Carolina, into Ahoskie, into Murfreesboro, towards Como, Belvedere, you're looking clear. I'm not seeing a severe thunderstorm threat into your area. For Suffolk, Cortland, excuse me, likely clear. Not seeing a big threat for severe weather into your area. Still a lot of wind moving into Williamsburg. There's some rain off to your west. You're looking good for the peninsula. You're looking good for the middle peninsula right now. However, for the south side into the city of Virginia Beach, we still have the strong storm where we do have this tornado warning that goes until 1:15 in the morning. And we also have the severe thunderstorm warning. That's the orange polygon, or the orange shape right here. That goes until 1 o'clock in the morning. So 2 more minutes for that. approximately 17 more minutes for the storm that's moving across the south side right now, and especially mainly into the city of Virginia Beach. But again, let's take a look at this. What do we see within the storm? The storm strengthens very quickly. It becomes a storm with rotation, and then that lifts to the north. It's moving to the north and east at 55 miles an hour. So what are we seeing inside the storm right now? We're seeing areas of wind. So wind, red means away from the radar, green means towards the radar. So we're seeing very kind of broad areas of air moving around, not tight spots where we're seeing that circulation like we did not too long ago. Are we seeing any type of storm debris on the radar? Not seeing any of that as we rewind it back in time where we had more of that circulation moving across spots into Virginia Beach, possibly, but I'm not certain that it was a tornado on the ground. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that as this moves to the north. Again, we have this strong storm moving across the city of Virginia Beach with that tornado warning that goes until 1:15 in the morning. We're going to stay on the air here just in case there is something that changes. We saw how quickly this has been changing and developing with time. And now, as this is lifting to the north, it's all about what's going to develop on the southern side of the storm, or the southern part of the storm. I've seen that earlier in North Carolina, not in our viewing area, but south of the Albemarle Sound. Earlier, we saw small areas of rotation developing on these thin little spots of rainfall. I'm not seeing that now. This is looking pretty weak as this moves through central Chesapeake near Hickory. I'll pause this once again. We'll take a look at that. Let's see what's going on in areas around Chesapeake right now towards Hickory to Great Bridge. Heavy rainfall coming down. There are some strong winds with the storm. We're seeing wind gusts that are still around 40 miles an hour. We had wind gusts earlier to 54 miles an hour in Norfolk, but that was before the rain even developed. As we look to Essex Meadows, as we look to Greenbrier, and areas north towards Stumpy Lake and Acredale, we have a lot of rain that's coming down. Not seeing a severe storm right now. Here's Volvo Parkway right here. Here's Zenneville Turnpike right here, and here's Farrell Parkway. So you can kind of get your bearing straight on where we're looking at into areas around Chesapeake and eventually into Virginia Beach. Kempsville right now, you have that warning that is in effect. However, I'm not seeing as much of a strong part of the storm. It looks like it has lifted to the north, or at least we don't have any redevelopment of any type of circulation or rotation in that area. Let's just pop on the rotation. Let's see if there's anything new that's appearing right here on the screen. And not seeing anything right now, just seeing heavy rainfall that's coming down right now into your area. No clear signs of rotation. Still, again, that tornado warning that goes until 1:15 in the morning for your area. Now, as we go back to radar, what we have is mainly areas of just rainfall too. So we're going to keep a close eye on all of this. And if Chris Tate, if you could switch to Max 1 for me, please. I'm going to take a look at the radar on there so we can see what's going on with the storm system. So again, we have that storm that's moving to the north, and you can see the view on radar right now. And I'm going to switch my computer over so I can see that. We'll switch over to that, and we'll load this up so we can see what's going on with this rainfall. So again, all of this lifting to the north. The storm system is moving at 55 miles an hour. We had that tornado warning earlier, but let's see if we have any updates from that. And I do not see any more warnings for that storm. So it looks like the National Weather Service did allow that warning to expire early. Great news for all of us. I'm going to keep a close eye on all of these thunderstorms as they move to the north with time. We have no watches in effect for our area right now. We just have that one strong storm that's moving over the Chesapeake Bay, but all of the severe thunderstorm warnings that you see on the screen here, that's to the north. That's for this area here north of Richmond. Again, I'm going to keep a close eye on this. We'll now go back to regular programming. In case anything changes, I'll pop back on the air.